Hello everyone, this is stream 6, group 12, the market view presentation, and my name is Jialun Zhang.
My name is Wen Kaigu.
And my name is Chen Yu Zhang.
Okay, and for the introduction, the foreign exchange market is an essential and significant part of the financial market. Today, we would like to compare two currency pairs. The first is AUD to USD and AUD to GBP. Through distinguishing three indicators each of them, we will discuss what the exchange rate change, appreciation or depreciation in next 3 to 6 months. Our next member will talking about the first indicator, which is inflation rate.
Okay, I will talk about one of the foreign exchange rate indicator, which is inflation. As the inflation of Australia is higher than the inflation rate of the UK during September 2016 to March 2017, we assume that Australian dollar will depreciate against the GBP. High inflation in Australia will cause less demand for Australia export, cause Australia goods is more and more expensive, so there will be less demand for Australian dollar. Meanwhile, the demand for import from UK will increase, cause the goods from UK is relatively cheaper. So the demand curve move to the left, and there will be more supply of Australian dollar. The supply curve move to the right. Finally, the Australian dollar will depreciate against GBP in 3 to 6 months. Next part will discuss the inflation rate between the USA and AU from the graph showed on our PPT compared to the inflation rate between Australia and the USA. We can see the inflation rate of Australia accounts for a higher position than the USA, which means the demand from America for Australia export will keep going on. Therefore, the demand for Australian dollar will decrease. The demand curve will move to the left. On the other hand, a relatively low inflation rate in the USA tend to increase the import from Australia, cause USA goods is more cheaper than Australia. Then the supply of Australian dollar will rise by proportionally, and the supply curve will move to the left. As a result, the Australian dollar will depreciate against the USA dollar. Next part, my team member will discuss the economic growth rate.
Hello. Next is for my part. Okay, so from the graph, we can see the economic growth rate of Australia is 2.6% at 2016 and keep constant to 2017. Meanwhile, the economic growth rate of the USA increased from 1.5 to 2.3%. Though the GDP growth rate of America increased by a little amount and the growth rate of Australia dollar unchanged. Australia GDP growth rate is still higher than the GDP growth rate of the USA. Therefore, the import of Australia from America will increase. We suppose the supply of AU dollar will increase proportionally and the supply curve will shift to the right. At the same time, a relatively higher growth rate in Australia will increase the level of overseas borrowing, hence the demand of Australian dollar will increase and shift the demand curve to the right. Finally, the exchange rate of Australian dollar against the USA dollar is difficult to predict in advance. The GDP growth rate of Australia remained constant between the year 2016 to 2017. At the same time, the GDP growth rate of the UK is predicted to decrease from 1.9% to 0.8%. A comparatively higher GDP growth rate will increase the import of Australia from its trade partner UK, which leads the supply of Australian dollar to increase. The supply curve of Australian dollar will be shifted to the right. Meanwhile, the higher GDP growth rate also increases the overseas borrowing of Australia. The demand of Australian dollar also improved by some extent. The demand curve will shift to the right, and the exchange rate of Australian dollar against the GBP is also difficult to predict. And next part is for my partner Galen.
Okay, the third indicator we try to cover to prove our exchange rate, whether it's appreciation or depreciation, is the exchange rate expectation. As the graphs show, we can see the exchange rate of AUD and USD decreasing from September 2016 to March 2017, which is the same as what we predict from the part relative inflation rate, and the exchange rate forecast of AUD to GBP is constant for the period we predict in September 2016 to March 2017, which is different from what we predict before. As the exchange rate between AUD to USD, and the other AUD to GBP should be predicted from all kinds of indicators. So to our conclusion, the exchange rate of Australian dollar against the US dollar, which depreciation between September 2016 to March 2017, the exchange rate of Australian dollar against GBP will remain constant or depreciation by some extent. Okay, that's all of our presentation, and the reference list will sit below the our PPT. And thanks for pay attention to listening. Okay.